Hello, welcome to our tips section. Today we're going to be talking about tyres and how to get the most out of your rubber tyres. Primarily we're going to be looking at the Scalextric car, but this would apply to your Carreras and your Slot.its and your NSRs, etc. So let's have a look at what we do in order to be able to get the best grip possible when we are running these cars. Now I'm targeting home users here. If you are a racer, I'm sure you've got your own views. If you're interested in watching the video, then by all means carry on and hang in there and just see what it is that I get up to. What is the most important performance upgrade you can apply to a slot car? Okay, I'm sure there are many people thinking many different things, but to be honest, the most important performance upgrade that you can apply to a slot car is the tyres. Now, why is that? I'm going to demonstrate that using this 1980s Ferrari. Why would you not add motors? Why would it not be truing? Why would it not be lowering? Why would it not be chassis? Well, the reason is the cars will not go anywhere without grip. You need some grip. Without grip, then your car is just simply going to fall off the track, as you just saw there. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take these two cars, Scalextric car running standard Scalextric rubber, and then we've got a Slot.it race car. This has been my race car. I've raced this at events, and it is got some aftermarket tyres on it. They are some Thunder Slot rubber tyres, and they are Thunder Slots designed for Carrera track. The tyres have been trued and they have been treated. Indeed, I raced that about a week ago, so those tyres have still got some grip left in them. However, in order to be able to show you that this way of working with tyres improves them, we're first of all going to run some laps. So we're going to run laps on the Scalextric, we're going to run laps on the Slot.it, and I'm going to record both the average time for 5 laps and also the fastest time that we managed to do. Now the aim of this is to do one single take on the camera that I'm talking to now. So in order to sort of mitigate what happens if we fall off, if I come off on a single lap, then we'll just put the car back on again and we'll rerun it. However, if I come off maybe after 2 laps, then we'll just call that quits. We'll just record whatever the fastest lap was and call that a done thing. However, the idea from my perspective here is not for me to do the fastest possible laps in front of you. This is not about my driving skill. The idea here is to get these cars around this track for 5 laps so that you get to see how they perform with untreated tyres versus how they perform with treated tyres. And I should say at this point, the treatment isn't just a single treatment. We're going to do a number of treatments, but we're going to use those two cars in different ways. This one's going to receive a lot of treatment and you're going to see the improvement in lap times. We're probably going to do 3 runs with this car. This one's only going to receive 1 treatment, but we're going to time that treatment so that you understand how long it takes for the effects to happen on that particular car. Last point I'll make is that I've got a temperature gauge here. The temperature is 16.4 degrees Celsius, and for anyone who works in Fahrenheit, that's 61.5 degrees Fahrenheit. So 16.5 degrees Celsius, 61 degrees Fahrenheit is our track temperature. We are using a timing system that will call out laps, so you'll be able to hear them as they go around. However, obviously once I've done it, I will then write them down so that you can see, or remind yourself rather, exactly how long it took. So this timing system is very simple. It just records the laps, the car as it goes through the laps, and it shouts out those numbers. So the first car we're going to do is the Scalextric. Untreated, running Scalextric rubber, and let us see how we get on. So, now, the first lap through, we don't record. You might be able to see that slipping and sliding a bit there.
0.00.
Hopefully you can see that tail kicking out.
8.84.
8.84. Massive tail slide there, big tail slides there.
8.64.
Okay. Slide in.
8.34.
Okay, so 8.3 then. And it should be said that
8.31.
I'm talking about this in terms of going around corners, but it also affects it on the straights. Massive wheel spins there, no acceleration. So again, we're affecting the car in two ways, not just in that one way. So what did we get there? So we got a best lap of 8.31 and we got an average lap of 8.56. So Scalextric, get this off. Scalextric average of 8.56 and a fastest lap there of 8.31. Okay, so hopefully you can see those times there just to remind yourself. We will now look at the Slot.it. So we click start and off we go. So obviously this is a race car, already quite sticky and tired with the tyres.
0.00.
Much more responsive, already quite a lot of grip.
6.30.
6.3. Neither car has got a magnet in, by the way. Should have said that at the beginning.
6.46. 6.13.
So these are very good times by this car.
6.16.
Quite suited to this sort of track.
6.06.
Okay, so there's our, we'll call it professional race car. And that actually sits on blocks to stop those tyres from being damaged. So we got a best lap of 6.06. All right, so 6.06. And then we had an average lap of 6.22. 6.22. All right, so how do we treat these tyres? I'm going to move over to this camera here. I have to use the same phone because the camera's all I've got. So let's get that in focus there. Okay. So before we start looking at the work that we're going to do, let's look at the materials that we've got. So the two things that we're going to be using are oil. I've got a selection here. So we've got some race oil. This is by Coford. This is a medium tyre traction. I use this, we call it Goop. I use that on foam tyres, but you can use it on rubber as well if you wish. I've got some specialist NSR tyre treatment here, tyre treatment oil by NSR for rubber tyres. And then I've got what I use all the time, which is normal 3-in-1 multi-purpose oil. I've actually got that 3-in-1 in here, so you can see the viscosity of that. It's quite thin. You know what 3-in-1 is. And I've got this oil here. This stays in my pit box. I use this regularly as well. I'll interchange it with the 3-in-1. It doesn't really bother me which I use, but again, you can see the viscosity on that. Just on this one, if you look at the viscosity on that, you can see how slowly that's moving. Very, very thick. And this stuff, whilst not as thick, is actually a thicker oil than the 3-in-1. So there's the oils. We're going to be using 3-in-1, and we're going to be using it from this bottle here. So we'll put those others to one side. The next thing is the tape. So there are lots of different options for tape. Some people like to use lint rollers. They're very accurate to be able to use those. You could use sellotape if you wanted to, no problem with that. Some people like a thick tape so that they can do both tyres at once. You'll see what I mean in a second. I personally use this stuff. This is Duck brand. I mean, I'd use any brand to be honest, but this is Duck branded masking tape. So what do? What we do is we take the tape off the roll, get a whole load of it, fold it back on itself, make sure it's long enough to go all the way around, and then stick it back to itself like that. So now I've got sticky side out. We then take our car, in this case, we're going to start with the Slot.it, and we clean the tyre just by rolling the roller. Clean this tyre as well, just by rolling the roller. We can see some of the dirt already coming off. We then take our oil, and I use quite a liberal amount on this. So that's what I call liberal, and I just simply spread that over the tyre. Now, the reason that we're doing this one here, now you should hopefully see that's fairly even all the way over there, fairly even all the way over there. We'll put a bit more on actually, just so that we've got complete coverage. Cover. Okay. So we've got complete coverage, and what we'll do is we will leave that one to soak in, and we will set a timer running. Okay, so there's our timer running, and we'll just leave that there. So now let's go to our Scalextric car. What do I do when I treat tyres? So you saw it running a minute ago. So I'm going to clean the tyres, same way as we did before. Oh, same way as we did before. There we go. And we do this one here as well. Okay, so that again, you've got some dirt coming off there, and then I'm going to apply a liberal amount of oil onto these as well. But this time, I'm actually going to be massaging the oil in, because the reason I've started the timer is I don't want to spend hours and hours. If I'm racing that car, that will be treated every 10 minutes, left as you see it there, come back, treat it again, leave it again, leave it again. But I don't want to do that with this Scalextric. So I am massaging that oil into these tyres. The aim here is we are softening tyres. Okay. So that's the massage, the massage, the massage. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the oil, which hopefully you can see on there. I'm going to remove the oil with the tape. Okay. So that is been on for a very short while and is now coming off, and you can see now that wheel has no oil compared to this wheel. So let's do that second wheel as well. Now part of what I'm doing is I'm also listening to that tape, and I can hear the tape gripping that tyre, and I can feel the tape gripping that tyre. So that's that done. Now I'm going to put some more on. Okay, still quite liberal at this stage. We will get to a smaller amount soon, and I can already feel more grip as I applied that. So I'm now rubbing in, and then finally we are taking that tyre back off again. Okay. Now you remember we did a brand new piece of tape, and what you'll be able to see in a second is what that tape looks like now. So that's all feeling nice and good. That's all feeling nice and good. If you really want to, you can remove any excess oil that you've got on the chassis. If you didn't want to get any on your track, it's fine. You can do that, no problem at all. But they feel quite good. They're feeling a lot more grippy now, and already I can see that we're going to have a better time running that. So let's put that back on the track, and let's do some more laps. So we'll be back on in a minute with the overhead video. All right, so we're back on up here, and I'm going back to my timing system, which is that tracker. There we go. We will plug that in. We will double check that it is still looking at the right place. It is, and done. And so we're going to run some more laps. Let's get all of this stuff out of the way. Timer wise, we've got 3 minutes on the clock. Temperature wise, we're still 16.6, so no real changes there. So now let us see what kind of lap times we've got before. Obviously here we have 8.56 as our average, 8.31 as our fastest. So much better now already.
0.00.
Smash that fastest lap.
7.27.
Oh, a bit too much there. Still not quite ready.
7.17.
But again on the straights, a bit more acceleration than we've had previously.
7.23.
Okay, so 5 laps again. You've seen I'm not driving excessively fast here. The whole aim is to give you a good experience. So what have we got? So this time round we have average lap of 7.23, and we have a fastest lap of 7.07. Okay, so 8.56 to 7.23, so over a second on average. 8.31 down to 7.07, so over a second on our fastest lap. And that was from, as you've seen all of this in real time, that's from a very quick change. So now For me, I'm not done yet. This is how I do it. I normally do this about 3 times. So let's get back onto our overhead camera, and I will show you how we continue to make these tyres perform even better than we did before. And I urge you, if you're thinking that there's anything going on here, just look back over that video that we took at the very beginning of this car driving, and look at how much slide that car had. And you'll soon see that slide had pretty much gone. So what do? We come back with our oil. I'm going liberal again on the oil, okay? So give a good covering. Need a little bit more than that. Okay, so again, a good covering. Now I'm massaging it, okay? So I'm just sort of massaging that oil in, getting it into all of the kind of holes that are in these rubber tyres. As I say, these are brand new rubber tyres. There's nothing, they've not turned a wheel on the track. I say I raced this and I was using NSR Ultra Grips on this particular car on the rubber tracks, but I never tend to use the Scalextric tyres themselves because I race these cars rather than drive them for fun. But you may or may not be able to hear that. That tape is really gripping onto these tyres now, and I've effectively got some real confidence in this tyre. So now, rather than a liberal coating, what we want to do is a kind of a dot. It's literally just a dot now. And that dot then is going to get massaged into these tyres. And then once that dot is in, then we will put the car on the track and we will run it around again. But I can feel, by the way, I can feel that that's still too slippy, so I'm going to continue with my tape. Okay, continue on that side as well. And we're done. So how many minutes have we been at this for? We're about 7 minutes into this now. So as I say, I'll probably do another 1, maybe 2 of these, but we're going to record this next one, and then we'll do a final one, which will be the end of this particular session, which should just about show you how much difference you can make treating these tyres in about 10-15 minutes. Okay. That is great. Now that dot, I can really feel the stickiness in those tyres. So let's see what we have in terms of our lap times. Okay, so again, in terms of timing, as far as what we've been doing here, we're up at around about 10 minutes, I guess. But most of that time is me spent faffing around going between each of these camera stations to show you. So I would say that we're going to be doing a 10-minute overall, even though this video will run for longer than 10 minutes, and indeed so will that time. So
0.00.
So much better.
6.73.
Okay. Really able to take that whole corner well.
6.80.
Good acceleration on the straights.
6.87.
And again, you know, obviously I can drive this faster if I wanted to. Well, I think the message is coming across loud and clear now. So what have we got now? We are on average lap of 6.83, and we are on a best lap of 6.73. So 6.73. In truth, we're probably not going to see much more improvement on this. What I'm going to do now, and we'll do it again live on camera, is I would take that, I would do roughly what you've been seeing me do again, but I'm pretty confident that we're there or thereabouts. So the main treatment, if you like, the main sort of like adding in that oil and massaging it in has been done. Really where we're at now is those dots of oil. So it's more about the tape, and it's more about the small amounts of oil to keep sort of feeding those tyres. So the first thing I do is give those tyres a clean. Not that they need it, because obviously the track itself is cleaning up now. I use this track quite regularly. So, you know, it never really gets fully coated in dirt and grime, but if it did, this particular job here would probably last for about 20 minutes, just to give you some idea of the effort required. So now we are looking at a dot of oil, there we go, and a small dot on there. So I don't know whether you can really see that very clearly, but they're just two very tiny dots of oil, and it's literally just to go, yeah, there you go. I'm done now. I can feel the grip on my fingertips. I can feel it, and there's no point in doing any more. We will just simply run that. So back to our timer, and then we will have a look at our race car and see how that's been doing with its tyres whilst we've been working on this Scalextric car. But the main thing, if anything I want to get across here, is that a lot of people will tell you that you should be you know, just sitting there and letting the oil soak in. What I'm saying is going to work, okay?
0.00.
So I'm going for it this time.
6.73.
You know, the time there may well be me.
6.60.
Not so much the tyres, but
6.60.
so, you know, I wanted to go for it. I wanted to do better. This is how I work, right? This is what I do. So, what did we get there? We got an average time of 6.64, and we got a very best lap there of 6.56. So doing some really rough mental arithmetic, if our first run, the fastest was, say, it was 8.3, if it was 8.5 down to 6.5, we've lost 2 seconds, so we've lost just under 2 seconds in time with our fastest lap, and indeed 8.56 to 6.64, again, we're roughly 2 seconds down on our average. So a massive amount of difference by treating tyres. And, you know, again, if I look at my timer, what are we up to now? We're 12 minutes, right? So obviously some of that time is me juggling backwards and forwards here. So in 10 minutes of your time with household items, sellotape, a bit of 3-in-1 oil on those rubber tyres of Scalextric, and you are going to see a massive improvement. Now I will say this, if your track is poor, then what's going to happen is you're going to have to clean the dust off first. You're effectively using your car as a duster to run around here. I don't necessarily recommend cleaning the tracks because I use mine a lot. If your track was absolutely heinously, horribly dirty all the time, then of course that is going to be something that you're going to have to do. But now let's quickly swap back over to overhead camera and look at the professional tyres, if you want to call them that, on this Slot.it race car. So what I want to get across to you here is that by not touching these tyres, and I'm very pleased that we can see some of it here, you'll see that the oil itself is soaked in. You can see there's a piece here right by the pen of oil. The tyres themselves look shiny, but they are actually quite dry to the touch. There's a big piece of oil there. So what most people do is, well, what they say rather, is that, yeah, you want the oil to soak into the tyres and let the tyres absorb it. And indeed, that's what I do as well. And I will put more 3-in-1 oil on there, and I will keep continually treating them until I'm comfortable. Now, my comfortable comes from listening to the tape. I hear the tape gripping the tyres, and I can tell when they're doing a really, really, really good job and those tyres are really, really grippy. So I will continue to do that. Last thing on the overhead, look at that tape. Quite dirty, you know, we've done minimal running here really. I'll go through rolls of that stuff. Sorry, not rolls. I'll continually change that tape as I'm racing, you know, ripping off that dirty stuff, clean stuff again and running it again. But for now, the last thing that I want to do is just run this car so that we can see, is there any improvement on this one? I personally not really expecting much. I would imagine that most of the improvement is actually down to the fact that whilst I've been chatting and talking to you and running these cars, I've got more used to running around the circuit. So that may well be the only improvement that we see. But nonetheless, we'll do it anyway. The tyres on there felt great. I'm going to click start and I'm going to run this car around as well. So you can probably see it grips really well.
0.00. 5.83.
Right.
5.76.
I have got some tail slide. I'm trying to minimise it.
5.66. 5.69. 5.63.
Okay, I was a bit surprised there, to be honest with you, but yeah, that was lovely and a good example of what you can do. So what did we get on the Slot.it there? So we had an average lap of 5.71, and then we had a best lap of 5.63. So you know, we're not looking at the amazing differences that we saw with Scalextric, and the reason being, as I said at the beginning, is I actually raced with those tyres a week ago, and they're still, you know, they're good tyres, they're good and grippy anyway, but it was a difference, and so you can see that the difference whether it's applied to a hard, out of the box, home raced Scalextric tyre or a more professional race ready tyre, the difference is still there. By treating those tyres, you are going to get quicker lap times. So what do we do? Hello, welcome back. The GoPro memory card ran out, or was full, so quickly, just to finish this section off, this tip off, we're going to swap over to our other camera. So the Slot.it, when we first ran it, did a 6.22 average lap. And that last run was 5.71, so we were just under half a second on our average race time. The fastest lap was 6.06 when we first ran it without cleaning or preparing the tyres, and on that last run it was 5.63, so we were just over half a second. These are massive times for a small track like this. If you go to a larger track, obviously, or if your track is smaller, you will still see improved lap times. Now, I only treated that Slot.it once. I applied a thick layer of oil on those tyres, let it soak in, showed you it soaked in, showed you what you're looking for, and then we just cleaned it with the tape, and then we ran it, and we see that half a second. If I was racing that car, I'd probably do the same I would be doing exactly the same thing that you saw me doing. I'd be applying oil, let it soak in, clean with the tyres, apply more oil. I would even do that maybe 4 or 5 times before I even put the car on the track. Just keep on giving those tyres oil, gets them grippier and grippier. With the Scalextric car, of course, you've seen all of that. That went from 8.56 average all the way down to 6.64, so nearly 2 seconds, and again the fastest lap, again 2 seconds. So hopefully you've seen how I do it. Your home track, the only difference would be if your track is extremely dirty. What I would say on that, if you don't use your track very often and you're interested in lap times, is to clean your track. I don't clean mine because I use it frequently, so the cleaning for me is done using the tape. That cleans the track, gets it up to speed. I know when it's in a good place, so that's what I do. But if you have a very dirty track, you're very inconsistent in your usage, maybe using it, you know, month by month goes by and you don't use it, wipe it down with a rag. It will give you that baseline to enable you to be able to run your cars and see any improvements that you may have done to them. And I've said it already in this video, it doesn't matter whether you're using magnet cars or non-magnet cars, you're going to see this improvement. So this applies to everyone. More applied to the home races than the people that are out there racing in competition, but it's the same sort of stuff that we do, or the same approach that we take when we go into competitions. What I will say is that those tyres on that Scalextric, they weren't trued and they weren't glued. So you're going to see improvements by doing just the oil and the tape. You do not need to have a tyre chewer. You do not need to do any specialist gluing. There is improvements to be had using that technique, the gluing and the chewing, but for now, this is just the most straightforward change that you can do to your tyres to improve your lap times. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like this sort of stuff, please subscribe. I do release more of these sorts of videos, and I also do reviews of Scalextric cars as well. There should be a bunch of them sat there waiting for you if you're interested. Go and have a look right now, but there'll be more of those to come. All right, thanks very much. Bye-bye.